last one. Only a very, very one, because I see the colleague is yet here. Quality of life in the elderly, a study on risk and perspective factor. This morning, watching the TV news, I just saw a very, very old information that I use here. It is a cover of the time. Can Google solve death? Wow. We are September 26, 2013. This was the cover of the time newspapers. The third giant in launching a venture to extend the human lifespan. So if we are lucky, in 20 years, we will live forever. I don't want to live forever. I don't want to be an islander. It's not good. And so in this moment, we still have to define age. What is age? And what is chronological age? There is a difference. The difference is between what is biological, what is social, and what is psychological parts. And primary, secondary, and tertiary cognition and distinction of the age. I still have 2 minutes. Then we can put outside after. We have to talk about quality of life. When we talk about age, we need to talk about quality of life. Saying quality of life, we mean general satisfaction with life and its components. And the quality of life is a multidimensional concept and includes physical health, psychological well-being, sense of control, independence, socioeconomic status. All these components can be changed and can be very put together in a complex way, because the psychological well-being go to increase or decrease this part. In this case, our framework is a multidimensional perspective from psychological well-being and physical well-being, social well-being, and all the other parts about the construct of the quality of life. In 2020, the European Commission will talk about active aging. Yesterday, a colleague just discussed here the presentation about the program for mixed aging, the youngest and the oldest, and the aging people. And they saw how the active aging is people, the quality of life is largely determined by their ability to maintain autonomy and independence. And it's a concept, it's a social concept, it's a private concept, individual concept. It has to change. Active, why active? Because it refers to continue participating in social, economic, cultural, spiritual, and civic affairs. And health, physical, mental, and social well-being. These two parts put together and try to construct our active aging people. Depression, such as loss of self-esteem, lack of commitment in their activeness, stress, reduction of social relationship, loneliness, impact on the quality of life, impact on the active aging. Instead, good levels of self-esteem, self-efficacy, social support are elements of strength in this case. And loneliness, depression, and anxiety are elements of vulnerability. In our research, go straight, we try to identify the protective factors for well-being in comparison with physical, psychological, social, and environmental quality of life. The participants aged between 65 and 91 were 464. The 76% women and 33 men. This is our instrument, the tools we used. We used loneliness scale, Italian validating form well-being, self-esteem, self-scale, depression scale, anxiety inventory, etc. This is the Cronbach alpha. The results, all the tools we use had a good correlation, Pearson R, with the physical well-being, psychological well-being, social well-being, and environmental well-being. But the quality of life and gender, there was no difference. There was no relation, no correlation. And age, no correlation with quality of life dimension, with no one. This is interesting, we expected that. This is the multiple standard regression in the causal model about quality of life and physical. And self-esteem, self-efficacy, and depression go higher level of quality of life in a physical way. Self-esteem, loneliness, and self-efficacy express the 63% of the variation of the psychological quality of life. Instead, depression and anxiety put a lower level, down the level of the quality of life, psychological quality of life. The same is the quality of life, social, and for the self-esteem, but in this case, the social supports, it seems to be very important. And the same for environment, self-esteem, and self-efficacy is going to increase the level of quality of life. We can conclude that in any case, self-efficacy appears as a protective factor and depression as a risk factor. Self-esteem would impact positively on the dimension physical health, psychological well-being, and living environment. Anxiety would result in decrease in the perception of quality of life factors, psychological status, and loneliness would be a negative predictor of psychological health. And perceived friend support would increase the well-being only as a social level. I close here, but what we have to remember that for elderly, in an ideal way, one of the ways to structure intervention aimed at influencing the feeling of dissatisfaction with living condition and prevent excessive states of discomfort might be to increase self-esteem, efficacy and self-esteem, to reduce the condition underlying anxiety and depression, and to help individuals to put in place pro-social behaviors, such as reduce the feeling of loneliness and relation isolation. Thank you very much. I just run.